We are starting to see some huge percentage gains from some of the lesser valued Galarian Gallery cards from Crown Zenith. We're going to talk about those in this video, and then we're going to jump over to some Paradox Rift. Now, we have to start off with the Mew, the Sleeping Mew. It's definitely one of my favorite Galarian Gallery cards from the set, so it's not really a big surprise to see this shooting up. A lot of the bigger, more expensive cards have already moved up, and now we're seeing the lesser cards come up here. But you have the Sleeping Mew, obviously, with all the Pokemon watching it. Super adorable. 171% growth on this guy just in the past 3 months alone, from $7 up to 20, and that does reflect in the lowest listed from starred sellers. We are seeing 20 to 22 listed on TCG Player currently, and last solds are pretty much high teens to low to mid 20s on this guy. So definitely not surprising at all. It's nice to see. This is a really nice card from the set. If you zoom out to the 1 year chart, 270% growth. You can see it was very stagnant in this $5-6 range for a long time. Then towards the end of the year, it did start moving up, $7, $8, $9, and then the big shoot up happening recently. We'll touch on PSA 10s for a second. Now being a $20 raw card, we are seeing 160, 165, 170, 150, 160 PSA 10 sales of the card. So that's nice to see PSA 10 moving up as well. Then we have the Deoxys. This is the Vmax from the Galarian Gallery. Another nice looking card. Just really nice legendary Pokemon. The planet in the background. This is a nice looking card as well. Once again, potentially one of those undervalued cards that just now is seeing some more growth. 134% in the past 3 months. It went from about 14, 15 up to 35, 36. Now, there's less quantity of this one available than the Mew. There's only 40. The Mew had over 100. And if we go to a starred seller, we'd have to go to page 2. Lowest listed from a starred seller is 40. So you have the starred sellers betting that this is going to continue to run. And you can see the most sales actually were back here in November at the $15 mark. And we'll take a little zoom out. You can see a year ago, this was 10 or a little bit below 10. At a few points. It did jump up in May, June to looks like the high of around 17, came back down to 14, 15, fluctuated a little bit, and now obviously seeing the big explosive growth. 273% on the year for the Deoxys Vmax. We're also seeing big percentage gains from the Latias from Crown Zenith. Once again, another Galarian Gallery card flying through the streets right here, catching people's laundry as it flies by. 267% is pretty big. There are a lot of copies available, still over 100. Currently, you can see a lot of sales here just before Christmas. Now, this is one of those cards I always thought, undervalued to $2 card, right? 3 months ago. And, it's only at 883. I mean, last sold 990. You're getting closer to 10. It's just nice to see pretty consistent $8, $9 sales there on the last solds. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see that this card, it was what it was forever. I remember just nothing, just very stagnant, right? I don't know how much the Surging Sparks is taken into account. The Surging Sparks, Latias bringing this up potentially, but this, obviously coming way after Surging Sparks, or it's just one of those things where so many cards have gotten so expensive that people are just starting to look for. They're scouring, looking for undervalued, and then obviously, we get to where we're at now. Lowest listed from starred sellers is right about market price, so it does line up that they are holding that price currently. So nice to see on the Latias. These once it also is interesting. We've talked about it recently too, but you get these cards, and I know it only jumped from like $2 to $8, right? But this card was kind of, you looked at it and you go, well. It's nothing that special, right? Because it was $2. But once it starts to get a little bit more monetary value attached to it, we start to look at it different. And you go, the human side of you goes, well, actually, that Latias card is pretty good. But we only do that when it gets the dollar attached to it. Because back here, nobody wanted it. And so I think that's a very interesting, human side of things. That just, it gets everyone. It gets everyone. That's why everyone misses out on all these plays, because they didn't want it when it wasn't worth the money. We also have the Pikachu Galarian Gallery card up 122% in the past 3 months, running from, it was just below $4 coming up to about 8 or 9. Most recent sale at 9. A lot more copies of this one available. 194. Last solds are pretty consistent, 9s, 8s, some in the 7s. That's kind of to be expected when you have a high supply available. Lowest listed from a starred seller is actually just under $10, which would bring this market price up if that continues. We'll see if that holds with this amount of quantity available. Something to keep an eye on there. On the 1 year, we're looking at 208% growth. Now, this guy back here was in that same range for a little bit, $2, same as the Latias. But it kind of traded between 3 and 4 for a while. Going as high as almost 5 in November, and then it did shoot up into the 5s, and now seeing some more growth here more recently. In the last year, the most amount of sales were the end of November to early December. So big percentage gains happening across a lot of these cards. It is something that we see happen fairly often. You got the other cards move up, and the lower cards, they tend to follow afterwards. It just takes a little bit of time. The Lapras, this is one of those stunning cards from the set. It's just, I don't know, it really pops. He's just super cutesy, obviously. Just the face of the Lapras, but you got some Pokemon in the background. This one's up 108% in the past 3 months, from a low of, all falling in that $2 to $3 range for some of these cards. $2.50 was the low. And now we're seeing around $6. So maybe not the biggest dollar jump, but percentage-wise, obviously looking really good. Under 100 copies on this one. Last sold's pretty consistent. 6s and 7s. I don't know what this one is as high as 20. I'm going to say that's an anomaly to ignore. But before that, you got a $2.50, a $3 sale that snuck in there. So yeah. Lowest listed from a starred seller, you're looking at $6.28, which would be just a tinge below current market value. Nice looking card. Glad to see this one getting a little bit more attention. This is a stunning card. They made a lot of great cards just that were like in the trainer galleries or the Galarian galleries, and they're just easy to pull, and people kind of overlooked them for a long time. Now this one did have a little bit of a run up. It did run up to around $4. You can see from February up until June of last year up to 4, and then it came back down. It was just a temporary, there wasn't enough demand to keep the price up, and it went back down to 240 was the 236 and 240. Oh no, this was 232 here. 230, right? It came back down to the same lows on the Lapras. Seeing a similar thing from the Keldeo. I've seen this card popping up a little bit on social media recently. It is a stunning looking card. Once again, maybe not the most popular Pokemon, Galarian Gallery, but stunning art design. So 140% growth on this guy, just coming from that same low $2 range up into the $5 range. So a nice little jump for the Keldeo. It's nice to see these cards get some attention. 87 copies available on this one. Pretty consistent last solds. 4 or 5, some as high as 6. We'll zoom out here, and this kind of did a similar thing. This was $1.50 though, so this one did actually, when it did have its run up middle of the year, went to 3, and then it came back down and kind of did set a higher low around $2. So this card did show a little bit healthier growth, I would say. So that's kind of nice to see. You're looking at around $6 currently, lowest listed from a starred seller shipped. So that would bring the market price up a little bit more on the Keldeo if those prices continue to hold. Seeing a similar trend here. You got the Magmortar, nice looking card. Maybe not quite as nice as some of the other ones, but I do like the Magmortar. And the Electivire, 153% growth on this from $1.40 up to around $4 market. A lot of copies available, over 100, but we're seeing pretty consistent in the $4 range. Lowest listed from a starred seller, you're at 4 something, so that'd be a little bit above market currently. And we'll see. You're gonna see this one kind of stagnant, varying, as low as $1.28. As the low. So once again, nice to see it get some value. You're going to see a similar thing here with the Electivire. These cards kind of go together as a pair. So I think that's nice to see. 125% growth on this guy from $1.30 up to $3. So this one's not a big dollar gainer either, but percentage-wise looking good. 176% on the year. Looks like the low point, did this go below $1? No, $1.01. Yeah, so it pretty much was $1, which is wild. It's a nice looking card. But yeah, you're in the $3 range, pretty consistent there. Now there's some of the more, I would call these more, not lower, but like more mid-tier Galarian Gallery cards. They're seeing a decent percentage gain as well. We're seeing the Darkrai V-Star. This is another one of those nice cards. Cool, popular enough Pokemon with some great coloring, nice artwork, up 32% just in the past month alone, going from a low of 24 up into the $30 range with most recent sale at 37. We'll see if that holds, but 31, 33, 37, mid 30s about is what we're seeing. If you want to go lowest listed off a starred seller, it's around 33 including shipping, which kind of matches the market price there, so nothing crazy. 91% on the year. The low point on this card was 14. It did shoot up during that alt art boom time, up to around 20, and then it just came back down to 15. So nice looking card. The Darkrai. Crown Zenith as a whole getting expensive. Obviously all the packs getting expensive. You got the ETBs getting expensive. The Sea and Sky boxes getting expensive, right? So there's a lot going on there. The Hisuian Zoroark. This is another one of those cards that's a nice art. It's kind of maybe a bit busy. It can almost be hard to like locate the Pokemon in here until you like know what you're looking at. But 25% growth, not as crazy, but it is up, cracking around $20. A lot of copies still available. But last sold, you do see some below, some at 20, 20, a few 18s, a 16, a few at 24, one even at 27. So yeah, that one on its way up as well. Lowest listed from a starred seller. We'll have to jump over to page 2. You're at around $19, which that's close enough to market right there. And then the last one that we're going to talk about from Crown Zenith, and then we're going to jump over, is the Deoxys V-Star. This is another one of those cards. I like this card a lot too. You don't have the yellow borders on this one. And this card just looks really nice. Once again, legendary Pokemon. 60% growth. So this one's going from just in the past 3 months, it looks like a low of around $9.50 up into the $16 range. Just under 100 copies available. And what we're seeing in the last solds is a little bit varied. We got 14 right here recently, but then it goes up to 24. Then we're seeing some 17s, 20. So that is something that happens when you get these lower dollar cards moving up. People will come in and they'll have interesting price points, just kind of undercutting each other. As they sell, because they go, oh, I had a ton of those, I don't need them. Lowest listed is around 17 including shipping, which would match the current market price. That's from a starred seller. So nice to see once again, just another nice card. Now this one's going to look a little bit different because, like I said, this was kind of more of a mid Galarian Gallery card. This did have a bigger run up. It was sub 10, had the alt art run up to like 13, and it came back down to like the same price, or like even a little less. So not particularly a lot of demand to set a higher low on this card, but nice to see it having 66% gains on the year for the Deoxys. Now we're going to jump over to some stuff happening in Paradox Rift to end the video off. We have the Garchomp from Paradox Rift. Now this is a special illustration rare. Nice looking card too. Not one of my favorite Pokemon per se, but I think Garchomp's a cool looking Pokemon for sure. 135% growth we're seeing. This is the 6-month chart right here. You can see how long he was at: 17, 16, 15, came back up into the 20s in December, and then started to climb again, and obviously shot up into, they got market at 41, but this is the interesting part with the Garchomp, and I feel like it might potentially change your view of the set a little bit. Once again, we're coming back to that money aspect of how does it change your view? Where are you viewing things? But most recent sales on the Garchomp, the last one was at 70. Before that, 55, 45, 45, 60. 40s, 40, 50, and 60 down here at the bottom as well. But with a lower supply, what you're seeing lowest listed is 75 up to 100. So it'll be interesting to see where the Garchomp ends up. Now, because it kind of shakes things up with Paradox Rift as a set. You can see this card did run up in June to 27, and it came back down $15, kind of lower than it was before. So there wasn't a lot of demand on the Garchomp. So that's, once again, usually something you'd want to see that oh, this card doesn't have a lot of demand for it. You can see a lot of sales back here at $17. That's probably people were buying this card out, pushing this price up, and then it might have been a little artificial on the run up, and that's why it crashed. Right? You usually want to see them set a higher low. But yeah, so the Garchomp shooting up big. We also have the Altaria, which is a stunning, really nice card from the set. Nice to see. Paradox Rift is one of those sets that I really like a lot. I don't think it's a top tier set, but I like it a lot, and I think there's a ton of great illustration rares from the set. I still think there's a lot of really cool, potentially undervalued illustration rares from the set. But this is a SIR, the Altaria, 114% in the past 3 months. It was at $25. It did climb up into the 30s in December, and now we're seeing 56. Similar case with the Garchomp. Low supply available on TCG Player. Only 5 copies, and last solds are all 45, 50s, a lot in the 50s, and as high as $60 on the Altaria. Now, if you look at lowest listed, we do not even have a starred seller, but we have somebody with 0% feedback at $26, and 100% feedback with 67 sales, and a photo at 52 with shipping 53. So that would be a little bit under market. So there's not really any Altarias on TCG Player right now, which is kind of interesting. Now this one before its run up was a $19, $20 card. It ran up to 44, came back down. It did set a higher low, which was nice to see. Not that much higher, but 23 to 25 before it had its run up. So there was some demand on this card. Art wise, you can't really argue. I don't feel. I know art is subjective, but this is a nice looking card. And this is one of those ones where on the photo here on TCG Player, it doesn't do it justice. This card shines. So this is kind of one of those ones where it kind of sucks to look at on the screen. Then we have to talk about the Roaring Moon to get a better view of the set as a whole. Now this card hasn't really moved too much recently, and there was a little blip of an anomaly right here. I'm not sure what's going on. We're just honestly going to ignore that because the sales just kind of continue. So something happened here. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, that doesn't seem legit. 112. If you know what this blip on the radar was, let me know in the comments. But it has come down just a little bit. Most recent sales, though, might bump it back up. 64, 63, 63, 63, 60. Very consistent in the 60s. So, the Roaring Moon is a nice looking card. I like the Scream Tails screaming. I think it just gets me. And I'm not usually a big fan of these different versions of these Pokemon, but I do like the Roaring Moon. I don't know. I just think it was a cool design that they went for. And I like the Scream Tails. Lowest listed from a starred seller for an English copy, it's 63, right at market. So that price is holding. If you look at the 1 year, you can see that this card has been on the decline. It was as high as 65 and almost $70. So there is potential for this card to eclipse this. I'd like to see it do that. I think it's a cool enough card, but maybe just people don't like the version of the Pokemon enough. And that's understandable. So maybe the Roaring Moon won't do it. It obviously got overtaken by one of the cooler... honestly, this is one of the coolest arts, I think, of the era. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and rank them all, but I think the Groudon is top tier. One of my favorite legendaries, so maybe there's some bias. Not my favorite legendary, but one of my favorites for sure. He's super cool, but love the Erupting Volcano. This guy is over $100. We talked about this recently, but just in the past 3 months, you go from 60 up to 100. And if we zoom out on the 1 year chart, you can see now this card looks very healthy. A lot more demand on the Groudon, obviously. A low of 22, shot up during the alt art boom to 65, came back down into the 40s and 50s, setting a higher low, showing that the demand didn't fall off for the card, right? So even though it came off of this price, this is a lot of the times what we see with explosive growth. It comes off, sets a higher low. That's nice to see, and then it continued to chug up to the $100 mark. 36 copies available. Lowest listed from a starred seller, you're at $115. PSA 10 pricing, very expensive. Tough to grade, illustration rare. But this, being the top chase card from Paradox Rift, you have, I think potentially there's still even room for this card to grow and to gain. You look at the Magikarp from Paldea, and that's in a similar case if you want to do the comparison game. And I think Groudon's very popular, so I think that could happen. The booster boxes are another one where I've been asked recently, like, what's a good pickup now? I still think, this is a box that's under MSRP, most recent sale 145. Not the strongest set of the era, but and there's a reason it is below MSRP, but when you start to look at the set now, you got the Groudon, you got the Roaring Moon, the Altaria, the Garchomp coming up. The set starts to look a little bit better as far as the singles go. So I still like Paradox Rift a lot. From a booster box perspective, has seen some good growth. It was a sub 100 a year ago. The PC ETBs have leveled out a little bit. This is the Roaring Moon version of the PC ETB. Most recent sales, though, we're seeing around 100 now. So they have come up just a little bit off of this chart. Hasn't updated, 41% growth there. And then we had the Iron Valiant version, a little bit more affordable. Most recent sales in the 90s and 80s. So PC ETB is still available. But last thing to touch on. So when you start to look at this set now, with some of these cards being more expensive, you can see the, we didn't even talk about, the Iron Valiant special illustration rare I think is a really nice card. The Steelix is super nice. You start to look at some of these illustration rares. Golisopod's a cool card. You got nice IRs, and even this is one of those ones where you get into page 2, page 3. I'm still seeing illustration rares that are nice that I like, art-wise, right? I'm not saying they're going to be big bangers, but just some nice arts. This is a deep set, so I do like Paradox Rift a lot. And yeah, so you can explore this. There's if you want to see, go find the Blitzel card from this set. It's just this little dark card illustration. I absolutely love it. Very affordable too. I'm not saying it's going to go crazy, but and then the Magby is another one I like a lot. There's just some good cards from the set. So let me know, like, what your guys' perspective. Does this Garchomp elevating and the Altaria elevating, does this start to change, and with the Groudon being over 100, does it start to change your perspective of Paradox Rift? That'd be the question I would pose to you. Let me know in the comments below. If you're this far in the video, 22 minutes, and you're not already subscribed, obviously you enjoyed the content enough to watch me ramble for 22 minutes. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button while you're there, and leave me a comment asking a question or letting me know about anything we talked about in today's video. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you guys being here. I will catch you guys in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.